We're joined right now by our Senior Advisor for National Security and Foreign Policy, Rick Grenell. Rick, I want to go to a few topics I wanted to hit today right off the bat. So we just got the news, too, on CNN Plus folding. And we were talking about our own experiences on CNN and this idea that, the one thing on MSNBC, at least you know what you're getting. On Fox News, you know what you're getting. And then on CNN, what you're getting is mostly a lot of pretty boring and then a lot of snark, usually personal attacks. It wasn't about issues so much. It wasn't like you have a debate, conservative, liberal, come on, you can still, be polite even if it's a tough debate. It would always be like something they'd slip in that was personal. And then they bring on, Chris Wallace to this team. Like, people are going to pay extra for a guy that they didn't want to watch anymore on cable news. And now we've gotten the breaking news alert that it's folded. What do you think the impact is for the media?
It's really remarkable. I saw somebody on Twitter, and I retweeted it, say, it turns out that people don't want to pay for something that they don't want for free. And CNN Plus should have realized this a long time ago, that their ratings are in the tank. When you have the opportunity to watch CNN's content for free, you're not doing it. So why would they think that people want to pay for content that they're clearly avoiding when it's free? So this is just the typical big tech, Washington, New York corridor mentality that they know, what's best. Remember that everybody at CNN and all of these mainstream cable and network news organizations, they're all based in New York City. All of the people are New York City types. All of their workers, their senior vice presidents, they really miss the rest of America so much. And that's why there's such a chasm between the media that are dominated in Washington, D.C. and New York City and the rest of America. But I think the CNN Plus thing is going to be a very big wake-up call to start listening to your viewers and what do they want in order to move forward and expand.
One more thing on this, Rick, and that is my view is, and I've been doing media a long time, I know you have too, is when something fails so significantly like this did, where out of the gate it just folds, it should be sending a message, like you said, to all of media, that people are consuming their information differently. You think about all the platforms we're broadcasting on: terrestrial radio, satellite radio, all of the different media platforms, Rumble to Facebook to YouTube to others, Instagram. You look at all of that and you say, okay, the world is changing. The problem is, like you said, the big tech control, though, is such a big deal because we deal with the battle almost every week now, where we're flagged for something, which eventually goes, by the way, in our favor, where they say, no, you were right. And some of it was like we were giving legal analysis and reading the legal document. But the big tech control of this is acting as a big brother censor. That's part of the problem here.
It's a darn good thing that ACLJ has the best lawyers and the most courageous leaders, because we do get attacked all the time and we know how to fight back. And so if you're listening to us, I think you've got to be very proud of the fact that you don't have wimps here. We're not going to back down from the fight. But the same people who looked at the CNN Plus launch and ratings and said, we should pull the plug, should probably look and make the same decision at many of the CNN shows. Because let's face it, the CNN shows have tanked in their ratings. Yep. They're at the lowest ever. Sometimes they're coming in fourth place in some of these shows. It's embarrassing, but they're not making the same decisions yet. And I think that it is a signal for the rest of CNN that you might have new leaders who want to make better decisions about supply and demand.
Yeah, they get obsessed. And one of those things they've been obsessed with is the mask and things like that. The kind of virtue signaling through their reporters, through their clients. And finally, they kind of started lifting that. But now I want to turn to this, Rick, which is we're seeing the Biden administration. They now decided after 2 days, no, they don't want to give up the power just in case they ever want to again, through the CDC, which is all the judge said, you used the wrong agency to do this. So now we've seen an appeal after America celebrated, and instead of just going along with that celebration and backing down because it was going to expire on May 3rd anyways, nope, they're going to fight it out in federal court.
Yeah, let's be clear. The Biden administration and Democrats are really moving to have a mask mandate again. And any Democrat who is not speaking out against this is really a part of the mask mandate team. And so I'm thinking of people like Mark Kelly in Arizona. I'm thinking of Catherine Cortez Masto in Nevada. Their silence on this means that they're supportive of the Biden administration wanting us to mask up. You live in Nevada, if you live in Arizona, if you live in some of these swing states, where are these Democrats? Why are they not pushing back? It's because they want to mandate masks on public transportation. It's outrageous. I took a flight last night. People were celebrating the fact that we're not masked up.
You know, it's interesting to me, the whole politicization of this whole thing. I mean, you had President Biden say, well, if you want to wear a mask, wear a mask. And by the way, it's a free country. If you do want to wear a mask, wear a mask. We don't care. But then the idea here that the airline industry said, hey, look, you know, we really don't need you to do that. I mean, if you want to, it's fine. But we don't need you to do that because we've spent, you know, who knows how much money on filtration systems like we did here. You know, when COVID first hit here, Rick, I think you were here once when we had talked about this. Because obviously we're in studio spaces, so it's closed in spaces, we put in really, I could hear them in the background, elaborate filtering systems to protect our staff. I didn't need the government to tell me to do this. Jordan and I didn't say, and Logan say, oh, well, let's see what the government makes us do. We said, okay, what is the best system we can put in place to protect our team? That's what we said, and that's what we did.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this, again, it just goes to the airlines did this on their own for the entire time until about a year ago, when the government decided they wanted to step in and support it. And we thought, you know, for a couple of days, maybe because of the midterm elections coming up and issues like that, maybe they'd let this one go. It's like they can't let the mask mandates go. It's like, Rick, they just don't want I was just in New York yesterday. You start a full change. You see that there's no more show your papers. There's there's no more mask mandates there, restaurants and in businesses, unless the business wants to decide to do that. And there's a lot more people out because of it. And that's not a red city. It's a very blue city. And still people, they felt like, okay, these restrictions are off, tourists are back, but they don't want to give this power up.
No, they love the power. And let's remember that we still have all these phony plexiglass systems where, you know, you're behind a plexiglass. And how many times are you behind one of these things and the person at the cash register literally leans around the plexiglass to talk, because we all know the plexiglass is like a phony thing, and so everyone's avoiding it. It doesn't work. Remember that the airlines were never shut down. Through the height of COVID, we kept airlines going because what we said is they have the best filtration system, you're totally protected. So it just goes common sense way to think if they have the best filtration system and they don't shut down during COVID, they should be the first ones to lose the mask.
So more aid, switching topics here, is going to Ukraine. $800 million more munitions. What's your sense of where we are right now in this whole situation, Rick?
Look, I have to be blunt. Your heart breaks when you see this. You want to help. We have this organization called the United Nations where we spend billions of dollars. Where's the UN? The organizations that are designed to come forward in crises like humanitarian crises are not stepping up. And so Americans are once again personally writing checks. I do think that the lesson here is that we have to be able to sell weaponry to countries before we have to give it away to them when they actually need it in a crisis. Years ago, we should have been selling to Ukraine, might have avoided war. We should have never had an emphasis on helping the Germans build Nord Stream 2 pipeline. We should have kept the Trump sanctions on the Russian pipeline. Remember, the Democrats dropped those sanctions and quickly created this Russian offense.
You know, you wonder, Rick, as these things unfold, it's of course it's hard, like you said, it's the whole thing's heartbreaking. But I want to say this, as you know, we're in a matching challenge campaign here at the ACLJ, and we're about 10% behind of where we want to be. We've closed the gap actually a little bit. We were a little bit further behind. But you know from your experience in government also the work of the ACLJ on the global scale. And I think if you just take a moment and talk about that to our donors to encourage them, those that are able. I know people are struggling right now, so we're not going to focus on that. But people that are able to support the work of the ACLJ.
Yeah, look, when you talk about national security and you talk about action in the courts, all of these things that we know are important issues, ACLJ is at the front. I spent 8 years at the UN, and not many organizations will do the work to get accredited at the UN in order to do the fights. And ACLJ is there. It takes a long time to do these detailed issues. What I love about ACLJ is we don't try to do everything. We try to do a couple of things really well and dig deep. So if you care about lawsuits, if you care about legal challenges, ACLJ is your organization. If you care about national security and global issues and doing the fights that we need to in multilateral organizations, ACLJ is where you need to go. So I just hope people recognize that if you care about this content, give it some dollars, give it some support.
We appreciate that, Rick.
Yeah, thanks, Rick. And as always, great insight on such a variety of issues. Folks, support the work of the ACLJ at